Hey, Rick.
Good evening.
Hi. Hey, just letting everybody that signed in and know, you have the power to mute and unmute, so you probably need to mute yourself until we get
Okay.
going.
Sounds good.
All right, just in case you got background stuff.
How's the weather up there today?
Today was decent. Yeah. Looks like the rain subsided for today anyways. I think it's back tomorrow, maybe the next couple days.
Easter famine in Michigan.
Yeah, you ain't kidding there.
So, okay, I'll stand down until my report.
All right, sounds good, Rick. Thanks. Hey, Bill. Bill.
Hi,
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How was the
Good.
wedding?
Oh, it was beautiful. A little
Yeah.
hectic, but beautiful.
Oh, good, good. You had a little rain to deal with, but
Just a tad, but all of our, all of our stuff was inside, so it was just kind of getting from point A to point B. But it went very well.
that's supposed to be a good sign for the bride and groom to be
That's-
financially successful.
Yeah, that's what they were told. And we were the they were the first event at the Savalin, so kind of a neat, yeah, it was neat.
Yeah, that's a nice, that'd be a nice location for that.
It is. It was a great venue. They did an excellent job, especially for just getting everything going. Okay, just as a reminder, as people are, I guess I'll start that over again. Just as a reminder, as I'm letting the public in, if you could please mute yourself as you come in until the appropriate time, which would be the first public comment section. Just so we don't have background noise.
Good evening.
Hello, Jamie. Okay, and just as a reminder, as you're zooming in, if you could please, if you're not on the township board, if you could please mute your connection until it's time for public comment. I see a couple, Rick, yours is still open mic. And then there's a 1-800 number. Not 1-800, I'm sorry, an 820, what is that? 989-820-2427. You could please mute your line unless it's a board member. Which I believe would be the *6.
Julian in front of the file pen.
739-5533. Can you please mute your line? If not, then I can do it on this end.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, Jeremy.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good, and you?
Not too shabby. Got to grab a bite to eat just in time to get to the meeting. Worked out great.
Cool.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Steve, are you on the 9400 number?
Yes,
Okay. That's what I thought, just making sure. 2427 is not a board member, correct? No. Well, Tim, I haven't seen Tim in yet. It's down there. Okay, I think we're just waiting on Tim. Tammy, are you on yet? Oh, there you are.
Over here.
Yep, I see you now. Sorry. I did a couple admit alls, so I didn't really notice who. Okay, again, as you're entering in from the waiting room, if you are not a board member, if you could please mute your line. If I don't see it muted, I'll just hit it and you'll be able to unmute yourself when it comes to public comment. But just so we don't get background noise. Got a couple new ones in that are not muted. I see Tim just came in. Hey,
Hi,
Tim.
Ann.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm well. Thank you very much.
Good. All right. Well, with that, it is 7 o'clock and all the board members are in. So I might have to be letting people in as we go, but I'll do my best. Okay. Let me just hit the share screen. Everybody see the American flag?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, it is 7:03. Let's call this regular board meeting to order on June 28th. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the
Pledge
flag
allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States
States
of America
America.
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for
which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Sorry, I know that's
Yes.
kind of difficult, like in this process, but.
Okay, there. Now I'm gonna try to get you.
Okay, wait a minute. I got somebody in the background here that needs to be muted again. If you are not a board member, please mute your line. And I'm just gonna do a quick,
I don't know how to mute
because I hear background, I hear people talking, so I'm gonna have to mute a couple people.
it.
Sorry, it's. Are you still there, Steve? Because I saw when we were doing Pledge of Allegiance, I let you back in again.
Yeah, no, I just joined by computer, so. It's
Okay,
still on
all
the
right.
phone, but it's probably tied in now.
Okay, sounds good. Just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, so with that, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Here.
Ms. McGuire,
here.
Mr. Spencer,
I'm here.
Mr. Palmer,
Here.
Mr. Sutton here, Mr. Wustabart,
Present.
Ms. Richards.
Here. Okay, do we have any agenda additions this evening? I believe we have a couple.
Yes, I had an agenda addition for the demo at, what's the address here? Just have the top page. For 643 Bissonnet Road, we had a couple bids presented and went through those. I did send the email from the attorney to everybody. Hoping they had a chance to review that. Just wanted to get that added on tonight so we can vote on that and get that taken care of.
Are we adding that as an agenda addition or going to be discussing it in the RFP section, the demolition RFP?
I would like to add that separate. That's what Tim said, to move ahead with that one separate, and the RFP will be our future demos, but this one we had already kind of started the process and just never finished it.
Okay. Sorry, I have to let somebody else in. Okay, so you want to add that under, that would be under other than number 14.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was the address?
643 Bissonnet Road.
Okay. And Bill, I think you had something?
Yeah, under the resolutions, we can take the form-based code conversion off there. That is not ready to be brought to the board yet. That has to go to the county and then wait for 30 days, and then we can bring it back to the board.
Okay,
But we can take it off. Then the other item that I would like to add is to have the informational item, payroll clarification, added or other. That would be number 15.
okay. And then I'm sorry, were you still wanting to do the, okay, sorry, somebody that just logged in, I'm trying to find, you need to mute yourself if you are not a township board member. Sorry, I just went through real quick to find who it was. Bill, are we still adding the, on Friday we discussed adding the, like a superintendent, like hr.gov or something like that, like a headhunter firm or something for the process? Were you still wanting to add that, or?
Well, perhaps we should wait till the next meeting. We have an awful lot of items to get through here tonight.
Okay.
I did do some research and found a number of agencies that do that type of work. So we may be able to discuss that a little later. I don't know that we need to do that tonight.
Okay, all right, I just didn't want to forget. Okay, so we have a couple. Anything else?
That was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to accept those agenda additions?
Move to accept the agenda additions.
Okay, is there support? I'm sorry, Josh, did you just say support?
Yes.
Okay. The motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton to approve the agenda additions. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wustabart,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yeah,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Right, sorry, I just gotta share the agenda. Somebody see the agenda now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to public comment. Again, we're at the first public comment section of the board meeting. At this public comment, you are only to make comment on something that is on the agenda for discussion this evening. And you are limited to 4 minutes. So just get my timer out. And again, it has to be something that is on the agenda at the first public comment. So if you could either raise your hand if you'd like to speak now, or you do have the ability to unmute.
Yeah, I'll go. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Haley?
Brian Haley, Ascota. Yeah.
Okay.
Concerning, it's on the agenda under resolutions 2021-19. I like this resolution replacing the authorized representative for grant applications. Pardon me?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Can you? Okay, I heard some background. Agreements and grant reporting. Because at the, I don't know, previous meeting, I had mentioned that now in the recreation grant, and this is why it became a big problem, recreation planning since 2011 until present. There's language in there, what we're to do with FRTA. And I'll just summary with the people's summary comments during all this time from the public concerning FRTA. They want it to be a focal point for group events, recreation. Keep it for recreation. Do not develop into commercial. That's a pretty good summary. The problem I've really had is since 2018. And that would be with, I need to be direct on this because it's
Okay,
all a
wait,
part of the record.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop you. You're talking about a resolution where we're indicating who is an authorized person to sign a grant application.
Yeah.
So we're just
And this
authorizing a
applies
person
to
to
it.
sign.
Yeah, and this applies to it. The reasoning I like this is
Okay.
because over the last 8 years, Trustee Palmer has said we tried to get grants, and now I see you're correcting this, or the board is, so that we have one voice, the superintendent. So that's why this is pertinent to what you have here. And continuing, because over the last 3 years, Mr. Palmer has stated at board meetings, official board meetings, that we actually tried. Now, I've gone through and looked at everything. I've asked the clerk to show me where we tried. Mr. Palmer stated, twice he stated that we tried, meaning I took it as the board had tried. Well, last time around at the last, I believe it was the last meeting, Mr. Palmer stated that Beck and Rader had tried. So I'm glad you have this in there, because we will have one voice speaking for the board, and then we can rely on that. But I have to say, in relation to all this, if a board member, Mr. Palmer, is stating that we tried, and I see no try here. I see nothing. We took him at his word on this. It's
Okay,
still
all
in the
right.
recreation plan.
Again, I'm sorry, Brian, but I am going to stop you. You're
Well,
going off,
all
you're
right.
going off task in regard to the
It's
agenda
it's
item.
right on your agenda, and the reasons why, and you guys get out of bounds all the time. I am calling for censure of Mr. Palmer. Censure, not censor. Censure. That's a public reprimand. That's what I'm calling for on this. This is that serious. So anyway, I applaud you for getting this in here now. That's good. And we'll let it go at that. Thanks for your time.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak on public comment in regard to an item that is on the agenda this evening? And I do apologize, Mr. Palmer, I probably should have just muted him.
That's okay.
Anybody else that would like to speak in regard to public comment? I'm going to do a last call here. Last call for public comment, okay? I'm sorry, for the first public comment. We do have another public comment at the end of the meeting, so. Hearing none, we're going to move on to the agenda with the consent agenda. First on, we have approval of minutes. We have a work session from June 11th, meeting minutes. Are there any comments on that? Okay, Destination Oscoda, can you turn off your, I'm trying to find you here, but if you are not a township board member, please mute yourself. Otherwise, then I have to find you in the list of people.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, no comments on the work session from June 11th. Regular meeting minute, June 14th. Any comments there from the board? Okay, moving on then to payment of bills. We have a prepaid check run of June 22nd in the amount of $100,274.30. Is there any questions or comments on that by the board? All right, hearing none, check run June 29th in the amount of $35,171.54. Okay, with that, then I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move that we,
And
oh,
I'm sorry, Bill, what?
I think we need to make,
I think you cut out there, Mr. Palmer. You're gonna have to say it again.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you, Bill.
on the June 14th minutes, I believe there's a
Okay.
correction we need to make in there.
Okay, and what is that?
Well, it's on page 2 of the minutes. It's page 7 of the packet. At the very bottom, it says the Lake Street Development Site MOU was passed, and then it says motion failed. Actually, that motion passed.
Okay. Oh.
Got it.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, you were
so
you
with-
were you were cutting in and out, and then it went offline for some reason. I don't
Okay.
know what happened. Had to read.
All
Okay.
right. So with that correction, then do we have I believe we started. I didn't catch.
I think
Is there a mo-
I
you
made the
did?
motion, yep, to approve this consent agenda.
Is there support? Okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the subcommittee reports and project updates. We do have Rick on the line to give the update from Row. Rick, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. You hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I will make this brief. And again, if you have any questions on any of the items in my report, feel free to ask. Water main funding, future phases coming up, Phase A and Woodland. Our friends at USDA RD on the grant side continue to frustrate us as far as what's available to the township, what's not available to the township. Still working through that a little bit. Unfortunately, what it's doing is it is just postponing or delaying the startup of Phase A and Woodland. We're still, everything is ready to go. We just have to have that funding in place for it. And we're hoping to still be able to get that advertised and under construction this fall. That, for everybody's, that's, the Woodland is the roadway between Loud and the lake. And then Phase A is, Oscoda Street and Van Etten, from Cedar Lake towards the lake. Those areas. And, like I said, hopefully we will still get that in place. Did last week actually, had an opportunity, and on behalf of the township, we changed what we specifically were asked for a project to get into Representative Aller's request at the state level, and we actually moved this one into that request. So if USDA RD doesn't come through, we've got the opportunity there at the state level. Phase B, G, and F1, F41, the project that was let back in April. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Wednesday morning at the Township Hall with Caterpillar Trucking. Tentatively, we'll get their official schedule at that meeting. But they're looking to start up shortly after the 4th of July. We have gotten the initial notices out to all of the residents along those routes to let them know that that project is coming, that further information will be coming as to schedule and such. And then also our inspector, our staff will be out in the field, just like last year on Loud, ahead of the construction, knocking on doors and letting them know what to expect. And then that one, different from Loud last year, is that the water services from the meter pits to their house connection, disconnection of their wells for house use, is all part of this funded project. So we'll be getting separate authorizations from each of the house owners that want that hookup so the contractor can access their property. The remaining phases of the water main, C, D, E, F, and the remaining portion of H, which is the out on Colbath Road, the subdivisions out there, are in the DWRF funding and also the C2R2 grant application, which we continue to hear. The C2R2 grant application, continue to hear that Eagle will be finalizing their decisions on that and getting that out to the successful communities here at any time. Still favorable as far as the township goes. Included in the agenda later on tonight is a proposal to be accepted if the township wishes for the remaining phases of the water main work. But with the stipulation that we would only ask for authorization on particular phases when they are funded. That way, if we get Susan Aller's funding or the C2R2, we can move on that design and such quickly so that we can meet the schedule, because the schedules will be tight on those once those start coming through. So we'll discuss that more later on. The sanitary sewer improvements, that one is now going forward for the 4th quarter. Loan closing on that. There will be a resolution at one of your July meetings, along with the tentative recommendation for RCL construction to move forward on that project, as I said, for a funding closing no later than September and construction starting up on that this fall. That really won't affect the delay in getting that project started, really won't affect the overall schedule, because that was going to go through most of 2022 anyway, because of the size of the project. The fact that we are doing some type of work, 20 some pump stations, and we obviously can't take all the pump stations out at once. So that's going to be staged work throughout the process. So more to come on that in the at one of the July meetings. We're continuing to chase after, look into any specific funding opportunities for the township on a variety of your projects, water, sewer, the parks, the trails and such. And as I mentioned, we had that specific request from Sue Aller's office and got that information over to them last week. Old Orchard Campground, we've reported on that. That phase 1 for this year is done and wrapped up. We'll be looking to finish that project up in the spring of 2022. Phase 3 trail project, we did conduct the preliminary plan review meeting with MDOT back on June 2nd. Meeting went very well. Had majority of, I think, the participants there. Obviously, MDOT was there, Forestry Service, Consumers Energy, the Trail Committee, members of the board. Again, that went very well. Had Kathy Sempelli from MDOT on the TAP funding. Since then, we have officially requested the remaining TAP funding that had been bookmarked for the township, which will get us all the way out to the campground entrance. The plans were reviewed all the way out to the campground entrance, and we are down to just a couple of outstanding grant applications pending. We should hear maybe yet this week on the USDA Rural Business Development Grant for $99,000. Should hear on that by midweek. And then did finalize or get the final documentation moving for the trust fund grant. The township's in receipt of that. The IBT challenge grant for $110,000. Got the paperwork moving for the IBT foundation grant for $50,000. Again, we just have to have the final paperwork all in place sometime in September for MDOT to officially obligate the project and advertise it for construction later this fall, early winter. The Ascota Wordsmith infrastructure project, we've basically finalized our initial study on that, and we have a presentation to the township members. We've invited Todd Dickerson and the airport authority. Actually, we're going to have it out at the airport authority on Wednesday afternoon to go over our findings, the recommendations for water, sewer, public roads, private and public or private utilities for the proposed plats of the industrial park that they're proposing out there. And the next stage of that will be looking at the funding sources for those projects to get those applications in for future projects out there. Other than that, that is pretty much the extent of my report. I'll take any questions that anybody has at this time.
Yeah, but I know you're still on the agenda a little bit later on, but.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Rick, the project that Sue Aller wanted, is that the one off of Oscoda and Oak Street on the south
Yeah.
end of the, okay,
Yeah. Yes. Along with Woodland.
okay, on the
Yeah,
south end of
because-
the lake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We substituted that one in because of, like I said, the difficulty we're having right now with USDA RD on the grant portion of their. Started last fall with the ECWAG first being awarded to the township and then pulled back, and we're still dealing with them on the criteria that it needs to be met, and it's like a moving target right now. So
Okay, I just had a resident ask me about that last week, so.
yeah, and I had a couple of actually phone calls today on it also. So
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Rick right now? All right,
okay.
hearing none. Thanks, Rick. I'm sorry, but you gotta hang out.
That's fine. We'll see you later.
Yeah, for a little bit. Okay. All right, so moving on to Todd, the EIC director report.
Yep, good evening, everybody.
Hey, Todd.
Three things for you under this portion of my show, because I also am scattered throughout the agenda, it looks like, on just
Yes,
different
you are.
things.
Sorry.
So,
Mhm.
last meeting, the board made a motion to have the EIC do two public meetings for the purpose of planning for Furtaw Field. The EIC is coming back to the board with the dates of July 15th and July 27th. If the board is good with those dates, I'll start advertising and we'll get that publicized. I'm planning on having it at the Warrior Pavilion starting at 6 p.m. I'm not sure if that requires a board vote on that, or if not hearing any nays, we'll move forward.
As long as there's no schedule conflicts, and I think, I'm sure Tammy already probably checked on that, but 15th and the 27th, which is a Thursday and a Tuesday.
That is correct.
Sounds good.
Okay, excellent. The property disposition map that's been kind of hanging out there, I will have that ready for your review no later than the 15th. I don't know if we want to incorporate a little work session on the 15th, or if you guys would prefer to set up a separate work session just for that subject, but I can hit a deadline of the 15th or any time thereafter for that.
I guess my thought would be it'd be a separate deal, but I don't know
Okay.
about the rest.
Okay, I can send an email out after, this board meeting, or if you guys want to propose a date, it's up to you. And then the only other last update that I have for you is the Skeel Avenue property for the sale of Skeel Avenue to Danto Builders. The township attorney is working on that. Hopefully we've got a draft purchase agreement. I won't put our attorney on the spot for a deadline, but I would think maybe by week's end or into next week at the latest. There was just some questions we had about which parcels were a part of that and which ones were not. So we've kind of cleaned that up, and I know he's working on the purchase agreement. I think we'll have that done pretty quick. And that's really, in terms of just general updates, that's all I have for you.
Okay. Well, sorry, you got to hang out. Well, actually, you're on deck next, so don't go too far from the
I won't.
computer. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report, which is actually Miss Klein. She inadvertently recognized herself. But anyways, we're on to the superintendent's report. We're going to start with the first one, which is the Lake Street Development Property MOU. And with that, Todd, you are on.
Okay, so your packet does contain the revised business summary for the Mural group, which then is followed by the feasibility study and then their revised LOI for our Lake Street redevelopment property. I kind of went through and identified all of the blocks in the downtown. If you read their business summary, their search criteria, really included the size of property they need, which is plus or minus, just a little under 2 acres is really the least amount of acreage that we could be looking at. They need a site that's served with water and sewer. They prefer something very close to downtown or in the downtown, so it's walkable to restaurants and shops, and a location that is near the beach. So as you can see by the map and all of the data I produced, without spending the next 20 years trying to buy out 6, 7, possibly 9 property owners in any one of our downtown blocks, the 2 vacant blocks happen to be the Lake Street development property and Furtaw Field. And we all know everybody's feelings about putting anything on Furtaw. So I don't want to speak for the developer. I know Saad and Steve are both on the call tonight. So I don't want to put words in their mouth, but if you have any questions about the feasibility study, I'm all ears and happy to ask any questions or answer any questions.
Or both, right?
Yeah, I'm good at asking questions too.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess at this time, would the board like to hear something from the developer, or do you want to start with questions? How do you want to approach this?
I think we ought to give the developer time to present.
Okay, all right. I believe I see that he has unmuted himself.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So no, I appreciate it. First, I want to thank Todd for all his work. I think he went back and forth with us and Steve on my team and kind of went through the entire analysis that he had come up with, and I appreciate his efforts and work. I don't think we have much to add other than we looked at the different various properties, and as Todd was mentioning, I mean, there's the 2 properties. We did our own research on Fertile as well, and we saw that definitely is not something that from a public relations standpoint might not be based on the social media responses a smart thing for us to get involved in. We think would probably ditto the remarks that Mr. Dickerson mentioned, that probably the Lake Street property is the best property that currently is available without going ahead and trying to acquire properties over the next many years. You know, we did also internally had redesigned, looked at redesigning the location in on Lake Street to accommodate a couple of the additional comments. We did come back with more parking in the redesign and looked at that as well. So, and then we also did come back with a revised purchase agreement price as well for the property.
Did you get balconies on there?
We actually are working with Intercontinental Hotel Group. We actually requested their architect and design team to allow for some balconies in the back.
Cool.
We haven't gotten a response yet, so we're still waiting for that response. So.
Yeah, just one of the. I guess I just had, you know, and I by no means want to throw us a negative your way, whatever, in regard to throwing Fertile Field out there towards you to say anything. I mean, I know you don't want to touch it based on some of the public's perception, but I guess my question is the location, let's take that off the table, is the location of Fertile Field, that 3 acres, is that a desirable location if we factored off the negativity aspect?
Yeah, no,
Is the location itself.
Based on the criteria that we worked on, yes, that would work fine for us.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clear that in my own head. Thank you.
No problem.
And you indicated you had more, you had added, I did, you know, I mean, obviously I looked at the information. How many more parking spots? I think you had 80 the first time.
Yeah, we added a dozen more.
Yeah, 12 more parking spots.
We're able to fit that in from our redesign.
Okay. Did the redesign maybe eliminate some trees and stuff, or what? How did you gain that many? I'm just curious.
No, it's just the way that the access into the building and outside of the building. So we were able to into the property, the access in and out of the property. That allowed
Gotcha.
to add the additional parking.
Okay. And I did notice the increased and proposed price
Correct.
for the sale price.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen a lot of negative comments myself that the township's just trying to make a buck by selling property off, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm quite certain the rest of the board feels this way. That's not what we're trying to do whatsoever by disposing or of properties. We're trying to find the best use to help the rest of the community. So, and to cover our costs. I mean, again, like I think I said it the last time, we've spent decades trying to acquire this property. I don't know what that dollar amount is completely. I got a rough number today by somebody that had indicated that they thought we spent around $500,000 over the last couple decades to secure that. So we're not trying to necessarily sell off things to, you know, be rich. We're trying to do the best thing for the community. So I guess I just wanted to mention that. But that being said, I did think that the 200, I think it was 200 or 250 that you originally offered. I thought that was a little bit low. So.
The original offer was
300.
300.
Oh, was it 3? Okay. couldn't remember, sorry. Great, any more questions? I guess not any more questions. Are there any board members that would like to ask additional questions?
No, I'm good, and I think I would appreciate the communication up and back between Todd and the team and the developer. I think they answered a lot of questions in the meantime since we approved the MOU.
And this is Bill Palmer. I was just curious if they would still be on track for beginning yet this year.
Yes, we are. We would still we still move simultaneously working with your planning department, engineering department, as well as your building department. So.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
If this was approved, would there be a way to put the trash in the screen wall and on the other side of the building instead of at the end of River Road?
Yeah, we can look into it. That's not a problem, but we would put the appropriate screening and decor to make sure that it didn't have any negative impact and work with you guys on that if it wasn't feasible. But we would definitely look to make it feasible, and if it's not, definitely work with you guys on developing the right decor and surrounding area.
Thank you.
Any other questions, I guess? And I did see you have again, you're wanting us to respond basically at this meeting in regard to this.
Yeah, especially to meet the deadline to try to get started this year, so.
Understandably so.
So Ann, I would like to make a motion to approve the sale of the Lake Street development site to the Lodge Group in the amount of $350,000 for the construction of a Holiday Inn Express Hotel.
Okay, is there support?
I'll support that.
Discussion again, Ann?
Yes.
I would like to see a counter offer of at least $600,000.
Okay, any other discussion in regard to terms?
Is Mr. Assad willing to answer that question right now?
Yeah, so we went back and we, the reason we came back with the 350 offer, we looked at our last 3 acquisitions and they all ranged between 300 to 350,000.
Did they have that beach right next to it?
No, but that is a great added feature. At the same time, there's also the markets that we were at also had other benefits as well. So it's we are indirectly taking some risk as it relates to, yes, the summer will be good. We're hoping to be good in Ascota. The winter is still a very big question mark, and that's a big risk from our end. Where the markets that we built the last 3 hotels, we had both winter and summer business that's coming in.
Well, I think we have a motion and support. I think we can move on to a vote.
Right, well, I didn't know if anybody else had any other discussion. He just answered the question. Jeremy asked him to answer the question, so. Any other
So
comments?
was that a hard no, or can we meet in the middle at
I
4:50?
was I guess I'm still inclined for, and I don't mean to sound greedy by any stretch of the imagination, but we have incurred, according to a very reliable source in the Township Hall, around $500,000 in acquisition costs, never mind demo. So a meeting in the middle would be around 450 or so, I would say.
And the impact on the beach.
Right. So we're definitely going to have to increase some capacity, which is not a negative thing like we've all discussed, but to the beach park itself for bathrooms and so on.
Is there a modification of the current the motion, or? I mean, are you guys looking at modifying your motion, or?
Well, we do have a motion and it's supported, and we had discussion with a couple of us, 3 indicating we'd like to see it a little bit more. So with that being said, are we ready for a roll call on the motion as it stands, or is there?
I guess if Mr. Palmer does amend his motion, would with the contingency upon a $450,000 price tag, would Mr. Malik be open to that to move forward today?
So, Mr. Spencer, so my recommendation would be is that, I understand there's some things that Ms. McGuire would like as it relates, that it would be additional cost, trying to accommodate some of the other needs and best things for the township and the beach. We would want that as well. And we know that there's going to be additional cost there. I think if there's any way we could put in keep the acquisition price of $350 based on what we have, but maybe then we put a $50,000 money put aside as additional cost to help with other beautification of the area, to maintain that beautification of the area. Would that work? That would be a commitment to helping some of the additional needs that the city during the planning process of getting things going.
Well, if it could go towards, I guess the concern is the approach going into the beach park and everything. I mean, this is going to obviously alter the feel as you pull into the beach park. So we've talked about a roundabout there. I mean, it's all got to kind of flow so that the two look like they go together, not necessarily they don't flow together. So we would want your parking lot and the approach to the beach park to kind of match, would be my concern. And maybe these are details that we can work out in the purchase agreement. But I don't know in regard to adding additional costs there. So right now we're just talking about acquisition, but you're indicating there could be some contingencies in there that could have a dollar amount as well. But if we don't nail that down now, then we don't really know that for sure.
I'd prefer that we'd have the money up front in the sale.
So could we meet in the middle at 400,000?
I'm not okay with that.
Mr. Palmer, it's your motion.
I will amend my
You'd like to
motion.
amend it?
I will amend my motion to the amount of 400,000.
Still
Okay,
support.
I was going to say, Mr. Spencer, do you still support that?
I do.
All right. All right, with that then, are we ready for a roll call?
I have another question.
Okay.
If we were, even though we're approving the sale, could there be deed restrictions or building restrictions as far as like timelines and things like that? Is that worked out in the purchase agreement, or where does it fall into everything?
That would be more, I mean, the MOU is just the first step, for acquisition and so on. Kind of like similar to the Skeel property, that we're working out the details of the full purchase agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
No.
Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item, which is MDOT EIC downtown walkability improvement. Todd?
Yep, as I stated in your packet there, we had a visit with MDOT on June 11th and discussed a couple of different walkability improvement options, and mostly center around, pedestrian safety and crosswalks. And as a result of that, MDOT is willing to add 2 new crosswalks painted, or, painted crosswalks to our downtown to aid in pedestrians being able to move at different locations other than just at the River Road and US 23 area there. So their proposal is they'll repaint everything, or those 3 intersections for us. The township board has to just be willing and commit to the long-term maintenance of our street side. So they'll maintain the US 23 crosswalks. We just have to maintain ours on Dwight Street, River Road, and Michigan Avenue. And if the board is good with that, then I'll work with MDOT to expedite that, and we'll have that work done, I think, yet this summer.
Excuse me. Okay, is there any additional questions for Todd?
I'd just like to say I appreciate all your work on that, Todd. I'm really looking forward to seeing that brightened up and have those crosswalks in there.
Do we need a motion to move forward on that? Or because we're basically, if we do move forward on it, we're locking the township into making sure that our sides of those crosswalks are painted and maintained forever.
That is correct, Mr. Spencer.
It's a long time.
It is. I guess I would make a motion to approve MDOT's crosswalk markings for US 23, and with the with MDOT putting in the entire crosswalk originally, and Oscoda Township maintaining the side street crosswalks indefinitely.
Support by Tim.
What's that,
Okay.
Mr. Cummings?
Oh,
I support that.
right.
Oh, I
think-
thought I heard a but after that.
No, he said bye, Tim.
Oh,
But
okay.
Yeah. Can I give that to him, Josh?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. There was a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wushtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the IT contract placeholder. Tammy?
Okay, I spoke with Randy Allen with IT Right today in regards to where we were at with the IT contract corrections. He had stated that he hadn't heard back from the previous superintendent since the 30th of April. So I forwarded his last email with the questions that Trustee Cummings and Trustee Spencer had. And I was hoping to get some direction today on getting this contract taken care of.
So Mr. Spencer and Mr. Cummings, have you had the chance to review those?
Yes. Yeah, no, I had seen this back a couple months ago. Jeremy, had you seen them as well?
I did not see his response. No, I was
I
under the
see,
impression
okay.
that we were requesting changes to the contract and that they were going to redraft
Right.
said contract for our review. And I haven't seen
Right.
that. So I guess I was
Right.
mistaken. Sorry about that.
No. I think that was correct. What occurred was, a response to questions and comments in line in the email. So I guess the direction that Tammy is looking for, I'd say we give this back to IT Right, and we ask them to incorporate those as changes into the contract, and just let them move that forward.
And then bring it back to
Yes.
the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then correct. Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And I think it wouldn't be wrong if we verify that, what they provide back to the board for review is actually legit before we go and put on the agenda. If they provide enough time for us to review it, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes the items may not be exactly the way we would want them worded, but I think if nothing else, we could get them to do some more of the work and keep this moving forward.
Okay. I will make sure that I just keep you and Jeremy CC'd in the in the emails with Randy. How's that?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I don't hesitate to send it to the rest of the board as well, just in case they'd like to look at it. They probably won't, but you never know. No. And shaking your head. Absolutely.
Well,
I don't
thought
even
we
want
had-
to see it.
Well, we had dwindled it to a few things and Jeremy and Tim, you both took the ball and ran with that. So my thought is it stays with you and doesn't,
Well,
get
then we'll bring
muddied
it,
up with anything else.
we'll
So
bring it back to the
that's my
board as
thought.
soon as it's ready, and we're chomping at the bit as well because we'd like to finish it. So
Great, sounds good.
I have total confidence in Tim and Jeremy and Tammy to get it done.
Yep. All right, so then moving on to the fire truck sale.
Okay,
Sorry, I got an
so
echo.
the township's 1990 Grumman custom pumper has been listed for sale for $14,000 on the fire truck mall website since October of 2020. With no interested parties, a recommendation has been sought from the fire chief for disposition. We did have one inquiry come in today asking what state we were in. Other than that, we have had absolutely zero hits on that. So I would like to ask that the board consider reducing the sale price for 30 days to $8,000. Then after another 30 days to $5,000. If no sale has happened after 60 days, consider offering it to another township as a good faith type of thing.
Okay, is there any further discussion or a motion on that? Stop saying
I'll
further
make a
discussion. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move to reduce the price for 30 days to $8,000. Then if nothing happens, reduce to 5,000 for another 30 days. And if still no sale, township will consider other plans.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire? Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Sorry.
there she
Sorry.
is.
Wake
Mr.
up, Jamie.
Wurstenberg?
I have people stuffing envelopes, so.
Mr. Wurstenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes,
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the fire department equipment purchase.
Oh,
Tammy?
this is, sorry.
Are you sure? Yeah, I'll let you go first.
I was just, I was jumping the gun. I was like, oh, this is the one for all the new coats and stuff for the fire department. Yeah, yeah. I'll let you make your presentation. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, your packet contains the request for personal fire equipment from Fire Chief McGregor. These items are maintained to assure safe operation for all firemen in service. The cost of this equipment in the amount of $6,912 to be paid out of the equipment fund 101-336-980.000 to be purchased from West Shore Fire. I would request that you consider approving the fire equipment requested in the amount of $6,912 to be paid out of 101-336-980.000.
I so move.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, and I don't know if it was Ms. McGuire or Mr. Sutton that had the
I can
support.
give it to Josh.
Okay, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstenberg?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
yes,
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the Vector truck repairs.
Okay, your packet contains two separate invoices for Vector truck repairs. The first invoice in the amount of $6,523.13 to be paid half to Sewer Fund 590-000-931.000 and half to Water Fund 591-000-931.000 from Doheny has a summary of numerous repairs along with a DOT inspection. The second invoice from Northern Truck Repair in the amount of $2,058.73 to be paid from the same funds previously listed are for the replacement of the fuel tank and an oil change. I would like the board to consider approving the invoices, one for Doheny in the amount of $6,523.13 and the Northern Truck Repair in the amount of $2,058.73 to be paid from half 590-000-931.000 and 591-000-931.000.
Okay, is there any questions or a motion?
Do we need one motion or two? Since they're
Probably
separate invoices.
Two, I would say, one for each invoice. I mean, because they're two different vendors.
Gotcha. I agree. I would move to pay the invoice from Jack Doheny Company in the amount of $6,523.13, with half coming from Fund 591-000-931.000 and the other half coming from 590-000-931.000. I think those are correct.
Support.
There's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Palmer, I believe,
Yes.
to pay the Doheny, is it Doheny? How do you say that?
Doheny.
Doheny, okay.
I have a question.
Okay,
Do we know how long these Band-Aid fixes are gonna work for the Vector truck?
We do not. Things just seem to be breaking often lately on this. It's an aged piece of equipment. Thus the reason for the next item after. Well, one more after.
Right. I just for fact's sake, if Mr. Palmer or Tim Cummings remembers, last year in April, we approved a $68,000 repair to the Vector truck that we have now that we're going to be replacing next year. And I looked for the meeting online and I couldn't find it, and reached out to somebody from MIC TV, and I haven't gotten a response yet. But I don't recall if that fix was supposed to last for a while, or if either one of you remember anything about it. It just was a lot of money to replace the big tank on there. And I can't remember if it was for a little longer fix, or if these are just more things that keep breaking, or errors.
I think it's a great question, Jamie. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I totally get you, because I was looking for the notes or something on it from that meeting. I couldn't spot where it came from, but I remember we voted on it, and I remember thinking the same thing. I remember it being not a trivial amount of money. I don't remember what we were replacing then, but the fact that you brought this, this information together and brought this up now is terrific. Yeah, but I don't know how to answer the question further than to say, yeah, it's a lot of money, but if it's an aged piece of equipment, then I can see why it's going to require, more maintenance. I just wouldn't be expecting that this is the same tank we replaced last year. I don't think it's the same item. Is it? Is that what you're suggesting?
It says in the description that the tank rusted through. There was a rust hole in it. So if it only lasted for a year, that would be shocking.
I just don't think that's the case.
I think that's the fuel tank, not the vac tank.
Right.
Yeah, I think Bill Hamlin would have some background on this. I mean, I've been told, I wasn't on the board then, but I've been told some of those repair had to do with misuse with some of our contracted resources in the township. And I think that's a discussion we all need to have with Mr. Hamlin, so he can give us some history here. But things break and they have to be maintained. These look like maintenance issues.
I think to get to Ms. McGuire's question about the previous bill, and it was a substantial amount. I believe that had to do with replacing the water tank. This repair is for the fuel tank. And I believe what happened is they took the truck down to have the water tank replaced. And then in doing so, they found that the hydraulic system, once they lifted it off there, the hydraulic system on the tank was malfunctioning. And so they had to build a new hydraulic system. And that was an expensive addition to replacing the water tank on the truck, if my recollection is correct. And it was an expensive repair, but there were a lot of things involved with that repair. And it was one of those things where they took it down, and then once they got into the repair, there were more things that were damaged than were originally thought.
So, well, it's so on for the first line item on the invoice says that the truck developed an air leak while delivering back from Bay City, located the leak at rear chamber, was rusted through. So are you talking to that was the fuel tank, or was that the tank that holds all the water?
In one of the repairs.
No, I think,
fuel tank itself.
yeah, it says repair the fuel tank.
I don't see where it says.
That could have something to do with the rear. I'm looking on the invoices.
It's the very first item on there, part number snow. It says.
I know, it's kind of funny. Yeah, truck developed, yeah, well, it says ARI leak. I don't know if that's air leak or ARI stands for something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so not trying to.
That could have to do with the air brakes. They've got canisters.
Oh, yeah, that could be too,
because
that was
the air brakes.
That was something else down the way, something with the brakes, wasn't it? Yeah, there's another part down there for snow, removed and cleaned slack adjuster and brake chamber, ordered parts, swapped seats, etc.
I do have a little bit of information. It's from the January 13, 2020 meeting. That's when it went to the truck repairs for the water tank went in for board approval. And it had been actually non-operational since November of 2019 because of that. And it states in here that this is basically a patch because we hadn't scheduled the new Vector until 2022.
So we paid $68,000 for a patch?
Well, I don't mean patch like that. Just basically to get us through until we could get to our new Vector truck.
So in theory, another 2 years out of it.
Right.
To limp it along, right.
Right. So it's been having problems for quite some time.
Yeah, the fuel tank is under the Northern Truck Repair. That's part of the work they did, was the fuel tank.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion on the table and support. We had quite a bit of discussion. Are we ready for authorization for payment? Okay, so roll call then.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried.
All right,
We then have the Northern Truck Repair.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump right in, make the motion to pay the invoice 20317 from Northern Truck Repair in the amount of $2,058.73, half coming from Fund 590-000-931.000 and the other half coming from 591-000-931.000.
Support.
Okay. There's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Westerbarth, I believe. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the Old Orchard Park appropriations request. Tammy?
Okay, your packet contains a memo from the Old Orchard Park manager requesting appropriations in the amount of $5,600 to be applied to Fund 509-000-775.000 repairs and maintenance, increasing the Old Orchard Park budget to $927,000 and, pardon me, $927,000 and, oh my God, I can't even say that, sorry.
A big number.
Anyway, this requires township board approval. So I would ask that the board consider approving the appropriations request in the amount of $5,600 to be applied to 509-000-775.000.
What account would this be coming out of to, or what, where would we take it from to put it here?
This would be appropriations directly from the fund,
The fund, you say?
the general fund, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay. Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion or a motion?
Anybody know why the original amount that was requested was not budgeted? I think it was a simple, honest mistake, or was there a reason behind it?
No, I believe it was an honest mistake. If you look back at previous years.
Yeah, I saw the chart there.
Funding,
Yeah.
it's normally at a much higher amount, and for some crazy reason, it was only budgeted at $2,500 or $22,000. So normally they would be closer to 10 or 11,000 on that budget line.
Well, I would move that we take $5,600 out of the general fund account and put it into 509-000.775.000 park repair and maintenance supplies to bring that budgeted total for this year up to $7,800 for 2021.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
There's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Palmer, sorry. Ugh. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the, back to the Vector, 2022 Vector truck order. Tammy?
Okay, your packet contains a price quote for a new Vector truck to be purchased in 2022. This vehicle will need to be approved to begin building for next year's purchase in keeping with the capital improvement plan. I would like to request that the board consider approving the request to begin building the new Vector to be purchased in 2022 for the capital improvement plan and approve the purchase price of $473,128 to be split half between 590 sewer fund and 591 water fund when completed in 2022. I will add from the pre-board work session on Friday, Mr. Spencer had asked about the accessories and the prices with those. I spoke with Mr. Hamlin today, and he and Doug Mullen handpicked all these items that they had considered needed on the Vector, and it's cheaper to actually order it and have them build the vehicle with those on it rather than purchase them after the fact. It's more costly that way.
Thank you, Tammy, for checking into that.
You're welcome.
And then she also provided information in regard to, there are options for leasing, but we don't necessarily have to make that determination now in regard to whether we want to purchase outright or lease. But I mean, I don't know if everybody took a look at those numbers, but I mean, there was quite a bit in interest then.
Yeah, it looks like about $35,000 on the ballpark, of course, 35K for the 5-year. And I think it went up to like 42,000 in interest for the 7, something like that.
Right. I guess it depends on how much we have, right?
Yippers. It's gonna, man, I hate paying interest. I hate it.
Doesn't make sense.
Any other questions or Anybody ready to make a motion in regard to making the order for the Vector truck?
I move that we order the Vector truck.
Okay, is there support?
Or
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the Forest Service Agreement. Tammy?
Okay, your packet contains an agreement from the Forest Service to help provide mutual aid, prevention, detection, and suppression of wildfires in the vicinity of the Huron-Manistee National Forest area. This agreement has been reviewed by the township's attorney and the fire chief and is agreeable. This document requires board approval. I do have some answers also to Friday's work session for the forestry agreement. I spoke with Chief McGregor, and his response, I'm just going to read it from what exactly he sent me in a text, okay? So for reimbursable assistance, the Forest Service contract is utilized when a fire is on the federal land and the federal firefighters need assistance in putting it out. There's a formal request they make and ask that they secure the scene and help assist. So yes, if they request our assistance, they do have to reimburse for that. But if they tell us, no, we don't need you here, you know, we don't get reimbursed for that. Also, in regards to the brittle fire, he has invoiced and we should be getting approximately $4,500 back for our assistance in that.
Very good.
Thank you.
For the follow-up.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy, for all that follow-up.
I would move that we approve the local cooperative fire protection agreement between Oscoda Township Fire Department and the United States Forestry Service for the Huron-Manistee National Forest Area.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the Metro extension. Mr. Freeman, I believe, is gonna jump back on.
I'm here. I'm
Okay, all right, sorry.
No. Yes, the Metro permit extension. This is, give a quick summary. Telecommunication companies, whether they're the old standby phone systems, fiber optic, but anything related to telecommunications is allowed or has access to the public right of way under the Metro Act, which was established for statewide. And what it is it provides protections to the local municipalities for, like I said, in the construction industry, there's horror stories of when we go in for water main work or sewer work or road work, and we ask for the private utilities to locate their services, and then they're usually in the way, so then they have to be relocated and all that stuff. Well, no disrespect to the telecommunications service, but there were a few out there in the past that gave them a bad name. So this permit was put in place to allow them to have access to the right of way, but to really protect the municipalities so that they're there strictly by permit. They have to follow a lot of different criteria. They have to provide access to all of their utility maps within a municipality. Those have to be continually updated. They have to follow all of the permit requirements specific to any road agency, any township agency, any city, whatever municipality. And the biggest thing is that they put it in, they have to identify what all their facilities are within your right of way. And if, I'll use our water main projects as an example, we go through and we find out that they're in conflict with where we need to put the water main, because we have a lot tighter restrictions on where the water main can be placed versus where sewer's placed and all that. They have to relocate at no extra cost or no cost to the township or municipality, and they have to relocate in a very timely manner as not to delay the project. So in general, that's the benefit of the Metro Act for you as a township. Anytime that they have an improvement to their system, which this one was, we're out there at the air base, at the airfield, they are proposing installing some underground fiber optic within the right of way, which is township owned, and also the airport authority, which they cross over to one of the new facilities they're building. They have to submit this permit request. Should always be reviewed by the local agency's engineering company for compliance with the Metro Act. And then also to make sure that they have the proper entities named and insured on their certificate of insurance, and that they have all of the proper contact information, not only for the municipality, but also for their company for current, during, and future communication that is necessary. So I believe this came into Mr. Sutton's office originally, or maybe Mr. Mitchell's, I'm not sure. But it did get bounced to the township's attorney, Mr. Friel, and then to me for review. I've reviewed it. They are in compliance with everything that they need to be in compliance with the exception that they need to add the airport authority as an additional named insured, Mr. Kellen as the airport contact. Ms. Richards is already on there as the supervisor, supervisor and superintendent. Ms. Klein is also identified. And with that on there, I recommend that the township approve this permit.
Thank you, Rick, for that summary. Is there any additional questions or a motion?
Yeah, just one quick question, Rick.
Yes.
Would this, once this is in place, would this be included in our GIS system?
We can get yes, we can get that information inputted into your GIS system.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yep. Yeah, all that information will be provided. And then however, and again, their stipulation is however the municipality tracks that or whatever, they have to comply.
All right, very good.
Excuse me. Okay,
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the Metropolitan Extension with the recommended corrections suggested by Rowe and authorize the township clerk and supervisor to execute the required documents.
Support.
Support.
all right, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support, I believe, by Mr. Sutton. Roll call. Hmm?
That was Tim.
Okay,
It's Tim.
Mr. Cummings,
Thank you.
sorry, you guys are all sounding a little bit alike tonight. Okay, so motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Don't go too far, Rick, because you're,
And if anybody wants any light reading, you can look up the Metro Alliance Act and have fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Might
not.
read-
I was picking up on a little sarcasm there.
Yeah, why not? All right, thank you. We'll get back to you on item 12.
Okay.
All right, next on is the demolition RFP. Remember, we just separated this out. So right now we are just talking about the demolition RFP that was drafted by the former superintendent. Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, your packet contains an RFP for demolition services to be reviewed by the board. This RFP was created by the previous superintendent and reviewed by the township's attorney. This requires township board approval.
Any discussion? I mean, did we like, I guess like the format itself for something moving forward that we can amend depending on the project, or start from scratch?
Well, I would just say, when I read through it, it seemed like a little overkill, but I guess, you know, it seems to cover all the bases that we would need for an RFP for demolition, especially if we, you know, in the future get into, you know, bigger projects that require more attention. So I think it's okay.
I thought it was good till I got to 3.3 about rejection of bids, and it basically says we can reject all the bids and we don't have to take the lowest bid and all kinds of different factors. So I really, to me, I honestly thought, why are we doing this in the first place then? But
Well, don't
Yeah.
we normally in any RFP, we have the right to reject all bids? I mean, that's pretty standard.
I guess why we're doing it in the first place is to have a standard process, so everybody quotes the same data.
Right, but it's, I mean, it would still need to be modified based on the project at hand, I would think. I mean, a demolition of
I
a,
understand that.
yeah.
right, well,
Right.
and like, for instance, Steve, like what you said, they would be bidding this exact same thing, apples to apples. I get that, but then in the second line of the rejection of bids, it says, we can, to best serve the needs of the township and to waive any informalities or irregularities in the bid, which would be somebody not bidding something that the other person bid, in my mind, but maybe, I don't know.
Either they added things or they didn't quote, to my mind, and they didn't quote to the boilerplate of the RFP that'll be sent out. So
Okay.
they have the opportunity to reject if they don't fulfill the RFP.
Right.
Other than that, I thought it was, yeah, all right.
I mean, I don't know if it really needs, do we need formal action to adopt it as a sample RFP, or just kind of keep it in the wings? Or what do you want to do? Huh?
I think you need to adopt it. But
Okay.
we're gonna be using it.
With the understanding that would be modified based on the project at hand.
Correct.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion then?
I'll make the motion that we use this RFP as a guideline and modify it for the projects used.
I'll
Okay.
support that.
There's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Westerbarth to use this as a template, basically. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. All right, Rick, like I said, I hope you didn't go too far. Next on is the Ascota C through H water main proposal.
Yeah, excuse me. As I mentioned in my engineering report, the proposal that you have in front of you encompasses all of the remaining phases that we've identified to date and that we've been chasing, well, we've chased funding on and currently have secured DWRF funding for the next 3 years. And then also possibly if that C2R2 grant comes in, it's the same DWRF funding, but it switches to a 100% grant instead of loan forgiveness. So, so what you have in front of you is a proposal for our services for design and construction engineering for all of the remaining phases. And in the body of the report or the proposal is the price per phase. What we are recommending would be for the board to approve this in general, which will then lock your prices in with us. And also these prices are included in all of those grant funding applications so that we're not continuing having to update those prices and such. And then only authorize us as each phase or phases are funded. So even though with approval of this tonight, you're not authorizing us to start work and invoicing on this entire package, it would only be for those phases when they become funded. So again, this is just to expedite the process and then also to lock in the dollar amounts for the next 3 years.
What if the dollar amounts went down? Just kidding.
Well, if you remember, our invoices are time and materials with a not to exceed. You only get billed for what we put into it. So.
And you're ballparking those construction phases C through H with just the engineering services from Mural at around 621,000.
Yes, yeah, and that is well the design and construction services. So that's that survey, that's the design, that's helping with all the bidding process, the entire engineering portion of the package to get these ready for construction, and then assist the township through the construction administration until the last blade of grass grows.
And this is also including the your time for going out to get grants to cover it?
Yes, that is correct.
And Rick, don't normally the grants cover the engineering costs as well?
Yes, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, the grants that we get are going after cover all of this on a reimbursable basis. So that's why when we go through the closing documents, the applications, they want to know what the costs are for engineering, administration and all that stuff. And we include those numbers in the application. And as Mr. Palmer just said, those are covered in the funding once you receive it.
Okay. Any other questions for Rick? Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the $621,310 to row proposal for the water main extension, Ascota C through H as those phases become funded.
Okay, is there
Support.
support? Okay, motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Cummings, I believe.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the book drop box for the library. Amy?
Okay, your packet contains a memo from Robin Savage, the township's fabulous librarian. She is requesting appropriations to purchase a much-needed outdoor book drop box for the library. The township would make the initial purchase, and the library will then reimburse the township with a grant to be paid through the district in the amount of $3,200. So the total for the Dropbox system, including the inner cart and shipping, is $5,699.40. So I spoke with Robin today. That amount will be less minus the tax. She just did not have the tax exemption form. She did try to get that to me today before close of business. She did not, but we will be paying the lesser minus the tax. I can't remember how much that was. But it will be less than $5,699.40. But I would request of the board to approve appropriations to the library in the amount of $2,699.40 to fund 271-000-890.000.
Is there any questions or discussion or a motion?
Since we're purchasing the entire, the entire unit outright, wouldn't we need to approve the expenditure of the 5,000? And, or am I wrong here?
The line item that I would like to take it from, there's money in it already. It's short $2,699 of the purchase. So I guess, yes, you would have to approve the purchase and then approve the appropriation. So I guess I was asking for two things there.
Okay. So we need, well, I would move to approve the purchase of an outdoor drop box for the library for, let me just run the calculator real quick and subtract that tax off of there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was like 322,
Yes.
Yeah, the total
322.61.
total amount would be 5,376.79.
Yes, 5,000. So I move to approve the purchase of the outdoor drop box for our library in the total amount of $5,376.79.
Okay, I'll
Support.
support that. Sorry, beat all you. A motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. Richards for the purchase. Roll call, please.
Wow, guys. I had this one on here. Purchase
I just
wasn't
heard Josh
on.
mumbling in the background.
Oh, yeah, we broke it up, so we have to do it twofold.
Motion
Josh.
was, who made the motion, Ann?
Mr. Spencer,
Gotcha.
and I supported it. And that's for the purchase of. We'll handle the appropriation next.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next is for the appropriation of funds.
I don't know the account numbers.
It's on Tammy's superintendent's report.
I'll make a
Mhm.
Oh,
motion
it's-
to, I'll make a motion to approve appropriations to fund 271-000-890 in the amount of $2,400.
support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire to, for the appropriation of funds. Roll call, please.
hold on, guys.
That's okay. So it's the appropriation of funds for the
Yeah.
purchase.
Had to jump back. Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. We are now moving on to the resolution section of the agenda. First on is resolution 2021-19. This resolution replaces the authorized representative for the grant applications, agreements, and grant reporting. And that does appoint Tammy as the person to be able to sign all those.
I would move that we approve resolution 2021-19, authorizing Tamara Klein as the signer for the representation of Oscoda Charter Township.
Support.
There's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the resolution number 2021-20 for the civil infraction officer.
Oh, this is the one where we're granting the new zoning director the
Mhm.
ability to write tickets and whatnot as this. Yeah.
As standard, I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't have anything to do with code enforcement leaving. So,
No, this is just that she's in that position and she should have the right to be a
correct.
civil infraction enforcement officer. And I would move to approve resolution number 2021-20 and authorize, I think her name was Nicole, as the planning and zoning director
Mhm.
with, and provide her the power of civil infraction enforcement officer.
support,
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on the agenda to other. Our first one is scheduling of the first budget work session. Tammy?
Okay, so I would like to get the board's opinion on possibly a July 29th budget work session as our first date. And I'm trying to gauge everybody's availability for that.
What time are you thinking?
I was thinking, to stick with tradition around 2 o'clock. And if that doesn't work, I guess we could do it evening. I don't know, because a lot of it, everybody works, so.
I'm good for
I'd kind
that
of
day.
like to, I would kind of like to throw out that we target Mondays and Fridays.
Works for me. I'm usually working, so.
I would not be available on July 29th. Could we move that to the 28th?
I'd say either the 26th or the 30th. I've got,
Yeah,
it's
I agree
tough
with you,
during the
Steve.
week to commit.
yeah, for me as well. I was just concurring with Steve's point earlier. Monday and Friday would be much better.
So the 26th is already a board meeting.
also have election testing that day.
So the 30th,
At 2 o'clock.
Okay,
I won't be available. I'm not available the 29th or the 30th. Could we move it up the week before that? Maybe on Monday, the 19th?
That's
Or Tuesday.
pushing it for me. That's pushing it out for,
right? I was just gonna say, Tammy, yeah, she still has to she's getting all the information from all the department heads and is then gonna have to sit down with each of them. So I think that would be kind of a short time frame for her to be prepared. So
What about the 23rd?
that would be the work session.
I won't be available. Neither will you.
Oh,
And-
that's right. Yeah, that's the fishing tournament. Sorry.
what about the
How about
2nd
the-
or the 6th?
Huh?
August 2nd or the
Second is,
Yeah,
second is good for me.
second is great for me.
August 2nd. Does that work for everybody?
That's planning commission meeting. But
We're gonna have the election that week.
What if we have it like in the daytime?
In what?
In the
Daytime.
daytime?
Right, I thought that's what we were talking. I mean, I guess it depends on people's work schedules, but we're talking about budget numbers and stuff. I think we need to be not real late in the evening to be doing that personally, but
Right.
just saying.
I agree.
Everybody's a little fresher earlier in the day. I mean, even a 3 o'clock time frame, better than 7 to start talking about all that. But can we make it a, like a 2 o'clock on the 2nd, or is that still too tight with the election stuff? Josh, when is the election? Sorry.
Well, I believe right there on the 3rd or 4th. Let's see.
Well, that might be a little difficult for you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering with everything coming in, because I know we have, let's see. We're in that weekend.
And that is a board meeting. We're meeting on August 9th.
Yep.
And 23rd. So what about the 13th instead?
Can we do that Friday, the 6th? Is everybody available?
I am.
That's good for me.
We can just eliminate the pre-board work session. And do
That's on the
a,
agenda
yeah.
anyway.
Huh?
That's on our agenda later.
right, correct. Okay, so let's say August, are we go with August 6th then?
Yes.
That'll be fine.
Okay, so August 6th, 2 o'clock, good, or we want to do it earlier or
It
noon,
works for me.
1?
We can do 2 to, what we're expecting 2 to 5 roughly, right? Isn't that kind of what we're blocking out there?
Oops. All right, I just noticed somebody in the waiting room, sorry.
2 to 5.
Okay, so August 6th.
Okay.
2 to 5. Budget work session. Okay, I'll make a motion then that we have our first budget work session on August 6th at 2 p.m., 2 to 5, I guess.
Oh, I can't.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, sorry, I just heard some background noise. I just let somebody in. Okay, I didn't catch the support. A couple of people said it, so.
Yeah, Tim Cummings said it, Steve said it, got some support from different people.
All right, we're gonna go with
Give it to
Mr. Cummings. Just because you spoke up just now. All right, so motion by Ms.
enough.
Richards, support by Mr. Cummings, for August 6th, budget work session from 2 to 5. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the downtown mural project request. Todd,
And I'm back.
he's back.
I'm back. All right. So, yeah, so the EIC formed a subcommittee to look at downtown art mural options. And I think I stated in the narrative, this is consistent with our place leap strategies that we adopted, and placemaking in art is also, favorable to the RRC powers at B. So what you have in front of you is an ask for a custom or a painted mural on the back of To the Moon and Back's building at a not to exceed cost of $10,000, and then a banner programs where we do four photos or 4 pieces of painted art that we will silk screen basically on vinyl banners. And we've got to buy the banners, buy the frames, have them wrapped, and then we'll have them installed on, right now we're proposing 2 buildings, but at a cost not to exceed, I think that number is just under $5,000, is it not? I'm not looking actually at the packet, but that's the narrative, and that is the ask of the board.
Okay, are there any questions for Todd? See how I didn't say any more? Corrected myself.
I just saw in Todd, in the proposal for the moon and sky for proposal 1, it has a cost of $13,800.
That is correct. I think we have that negotiated down. The Vinny's hardware is going to help them with paint, which is going to drive that cost down. But that's also why I'm asking for just
simply from the board a cost not to exceed.
Okay, so the 10,000 will cover that?
Yes, and even if it doesn't, you're not on the hook for any more than 10,000, right? I mean, that's how I'm
Okay,
trying to.
right.
Yeah, but if that also, does that mean that they're going to paint half of it and be like, oh, we're out of money, sorry?
No, that's not what that means.
Okay.
Okay. I did, the artist is actually, I try not to look at the comments in the chat sometimes, but there is a comment from the artist that indicated that the price is now 10,002 for the new proposal. So, but that amount you're still saying, Todd, includes?
Yeah, I would leave my narrative the same.
Okay.
That it's a cost not to exceed $10,000, and I'll personally chip in another $200 to make the artist whole and to give back to the community.
All right. Okay, so we're looking for, I'm sorry, there's the banners and then there's the actual painting on the building.
Correct.
So the banners themselves are $42.95 with the brackets and everything.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to look at this in two motions, I would assume. And then the other one is the mural, the actual painting of the mural on the building. And that's a $10,000 request.
Correct. And this is all, again, I have that in there as under the line item of miscellaneous, and this was all spelled out to the board, the previous board, as to what we wanted to do with art and murals. So this was put into our working budget for 2021.
Okay, are there any further questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the downtown mural project in the amount not to exceed $10,000 for the painted mural and an amount not to exceed $4,920 for the vinyl murals.
$4,295.
There's 4,920 for the vinyl banners.
Oh, mine, the one I'm looking at says 4,295 total for the quote on the.
Right, the Britain quote says $42.95.
No, you can't go by the Britain quote. You have to go by
Okay.
the narrative that I put in there. Those are just the itemized. There's the itemized costs, and we have a different numerical purchase. So 1 8x16, 1 8x12, and then 2 8x8.
Gotcha. Well, then I will second Mr. Palmer's motion.
What was the amount?
It was $10,000 for the mural,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed.
Are these going in one motion?
I guess so. That's the way they were put out. So the motion was by Mr. Palmer to not to exceed $10,000. And I'm sorry, what was the amount for the vinyl banners? Not to exceed the 38.
Not to exceed 4,920.
Okay. So I'm just looking at Tammy's narrative says 38.55. So I don't know what.
I corrected that
Oh, okay, I didn't get that then.
Friday, yeah.
Okay, sorry. And was there support for that? Did you support that, Jeremy?
Yes.
All right, so the motion's by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wushtabar,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the row engineering proposal. Conceptual drawings for FERTA, public meetings and RFPs. Todd?
Yep. So again, as a follow-up to my update earlier in the meeting, the board has requested that we do some public meetings, the 15th and the 27th, for the future of FERTA Field. I know some in the public will tell you we don't need to spend this money because it's supposed to be green space, and apparently people have that all figured out. But there's also voices in the community that I think would like to see some sort of brick and mortar, or there's a component of brick and mortar to the green space. I think it will be difficult for us to go out to any kind of RFP, whether it's for developers or any other groups that want to invest in this property and turn it into what the public wants, without having some sort of a takeaway from these meetings. And so Roe has proposed their involvement. I think it's a $9,100 to do just that, conceptual drawings based on the feedback we're going to get from the public meetings. We'll take those drawings and use that as part of our RFP process.
Okay, so the drawings will not be, I think we talked about this a little bit on Friday. The proposal talks about 3, I believe.
Yeah, it's for up to 3.
Up to 3 site plans.
3 renderings, correct.
Okay,
so and then some building renderings that would be included.
All right, so those won't actually be started until after the 2 public meetings?
I think we should take something to the first public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we should take in all the public comment and the feedback from the first meeting, and then Roe can work on that and then bring back a couple of up to 3. I don't know that we need to belabor if it's just 100% green space. I know that there's already been one done, so we can use that and incorporate that as well. But after the first meeting, we'll bring a couple extra renditions to the second public meeting. Some of the feedback that I read or I'm told from the community is part of this feedback from the hotel on Lake Street. How come the public doesn't get to weigh in on what's going to go there? So if we're going to do these public meetings, then the takeaway out of, well, what did you guys decide you want to have there? And then we take that out as part of the RFP. Hey, Mr. or Miss Developer, this is what the community, if we're going to put brick and mortar on this is kind of the consensus of the community of what they hope it looks like. So propose something that looks like this or similar to this. We're just giving them a great, a green space in a field and says, hey, here's our 3.3 acres. Tell us what you want. Again, that criticism is always, well, we didn't get a say in what we want there. So.
Okay, any questions for Todd?
Todd,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. McGuire. I'm sorry.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Todd, on the flyer there from Row Engineering, I've seen things like this posted on Facebook and people talking about the illustrations that are on their pamphlet. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but those are not the renderings or any type of drawing that's associated with what we're talking about. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. They were just simply trying to show you what their work, what is included in the scope of their work. So they're illustrating that you'll get architectural renderings as part of their work product.
Thank you for clarifying that so that people know.
Absolutely.
So to that end, when we're looking at those 2 demo drawings that they've got there, that would be those 2 demo drawings of those 2 buildings right there would be site concepts, and there is not a rendering or an example of the architectural portion of it, or are those the architecturals?
I don't have anything from them that has any relevance to FERTA at this point in time. They're just trying to show you.
No. I'm talking about what we're going to get. Okay. I'm saying that those pictures right there of those buildings are we going to get pictures like that? Is that under site concepts or under architectural?
That's where I'm a little confused what's the difference between site concepts and the architectural component?
The
Yeah,
site
because those, sorry, go ahead.
That's right. The site concepts would be the overview of where things are placed on the site, so more of a civil drawing. And the renderings, the illustrations are what might the buildings look like that are sitting there. So the renderings and the illustrations, they're more 3D looking at street view, and the site renderings are overhead. Hey, here's how things would be placed on the site.
Gotcha.
And Todd, if you don't mind, from another project of a couple of years ago, we have the full topographic survey of Furtaw Field and the surrounding streets. So those renderings that you see there, or examples of those renderings, those will have a real life feel, because we will be able to incorporate the actual topography of Furtaw Field into it. So it'll give a more of a realistic, of what the community would like to see.
Well, since this is in the interest of getting the community something that they would like to see on Furtaw Field, I would move to approve the Furtaw Field concept illustrations, up to 3 of them, and for a price of $9,400.
Okay, there is a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Sutton. Okay, any further discussion? Are we ready for a roll call? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Worcester,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the North American Summit budget request. Todd?
Okay, so last year, the board approved an amount up to $6,500 to attend the North American Space Summit over in Traverse City. The purpose of this is, was to learn more about the space industry, horizontal launch as it relates to our location, and of course, meet and mingle and talk to companies that may be interested in coming to our community or putting a business here at the airport for spaceport operations. Last year we rented a trade booth, basically paid for 3 attendees, the registrations. And of course, we had to buy some, we had to invest in some capital in the way of banners and some marketing materials. So this year, I'm asking if the board should like us to attend again this year. We've got some of that capital expense already built in. So I'm asking for $6,000 if you would like us to attend. And again, that includes that trade booth, attending the actual space summit, and all the other incidentals that are involved.
Okay, are there any questions for Todd?
Where is this going to be located, Todd?
Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City.
Okay, same place as last year.
Yep.
And who are you proposing would go?
I haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
Last year, it was myself, the superintendent, an EIC member, and then our fellow went, but we did not pay for his registration. He just he got to go for free from that perspective, and was in charge of the trade booth. So I would expect doing the same thing. That $6,000 would include a head count of 3 of us going from the township, 3 registration fees, and I'll see if I can't get the fellow waived again this year. If you wanted to reduce that $6,000, we could of course take less people.
the motion
It's
to
fine to-
approve the expenditures not to exceed $6,000 to attend the 2021 North American Space Summit.
I support.
All right, there's
I had
a,
a comment.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry.
Spencer was trying to, or Mr. Cummings was trying to comment. Okay,
Timing's everything, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was my understanding that last year our attendance at the Space Summit was not only considered to be successful by those people who attended, but probably invaluable, worth more than the $6,000, particularly if this really was to lead to us being chosen as for horizontal launch. So my thought here would be that this is a very positive opportunity.
Okay.
So Mr. Sutton did not make a motion?
Oh, I did.
He made
Okay.
it. He
Oh,
made it.
whew.
Mr. Sutton made it, and I believe Mr. Spencer supported it, correct?
It was a tie between Mr. Woosterbarth and myself. I'll let you break it.
Well, seeing as I already wrote Spencer down, that's what we're going with.
Done.
There you go.
All right,
I
sorry.
just would like to add that I talked to everybody who attended last year, and it was a very positive outcome, and even some of the companies that they contacted with.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Are we ready for a roll call then? Great, roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Woosterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the DPW maintenance. And actually, I guess completely up to you, Todd, if you want to hang out for the rest of the meeting or not, but I believe your agenda items are over. Are they not? You might already be gone. Don't know. Anyways, okay, so next on is the DPW maintenance, maintenance one hire request. Tammy?
Okay, so we have a memo here from Mr. Hamlin regarding the hire of Alan Campbell. He's been with the DPW for 4 years, and they would like to hire him to replace the maintenance one position that has been open, and I think it would be a great start.
Okay, is there any questions or a motion?
I noticed he was talking about the 3 years that he's been already, quote, doing the job. Should we go ahead and bump him up to a little bit of a higher wage than the starting
Yeah.
point?
I would make a motion to approve hiring Alan Campbell for a maintenance one full-time position at a rate of $17.46.
Support.
Okay. There's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Spencer. Any further to hire Al in an increased amount of $17.46 per hour? Any further discussion on that or roll call then?
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Woosterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next on is the governance agreement. Josh?
all right, we discussed this a little bit on Friday. This is just sent out by the MTA, is a key part of our collective commitment to fostering efficient and effective township government that has earned the public's trust. The MTA board invites your board to affirm and practice the enclosed principles of governments through formal ratification at the board meeting. By signing the certificate, board members denote their personal pledges to adhere to the principles. Following board action, we encourage you to frame and proudly post this document in a prominent place for all to see.
So, and I know that we discussed this on, we did have discussion on this on Friday. And I believe, Mr. Spencer, you had indicated, you know, it's kind of already, not kind of, but it is in our protocol already to do these things. You didn't.
Yeah, it just seems like
But-
a frivolous feel-good document. They just want us to sign all this extra stuff that means nothing, while our policies actually have teeth. So I would prefer to just stick with our policies and continue on our path of excellence for the community. I don't think we need additional supporting documentation signed that does nothing. That's my opinion.
I actually think it's a good team building tool, and it would be great for all of us to sign it and show that we are going to work together and follow the code compliance. But that's my thought.
Yeah, I feel like they're good values. So even if we say them in 15 different ways, we're just supporting the same good values. So why not? And then we can have it as Josh indicated, framed and with all of our signatures here in the township building. So.
Well, and I think it's probably a good idea. I believe MTA is going to, you know, accumulate all these from the various 1,200 some townships and make that part of what MTA represents. And so I think Oscoda should be represented in that. I think I would move to approve the governance agreement and for all board members to sign and send to MTA for inclusion in the state list.
Support.
There's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Ms. McGuire. Any further discussion, or are we ready for roll call? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Nope.
Mr. Cummings,
No,
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the code compliance officer resignation.
So our code compliance officer, Mark Bridson, has decided to retire. His last day, I know it says in his resignation letter that it'd be July 2nd, but it will actually be June 30th. And I would recommend that the board approve his resignation with a lot of regret. He did a good job.
At that same time, Tammy, are you asking for approval to post the position?
Yep, I was going to, it's gonna wait, but yes, I am. I also have attached the ad for a new code compliance officer. Just looking for approval for that as well.
Yeah.
I'd move.
I would,
Go ahead.
well, I would make a motion to accept the resignation of Mark Bridson as the Township Code Compliance Officer with regrets and thanks for his service to the township, and wish him good health in the future. I know he's having some health concerns.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Spencer to accept the resignation with regrets. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings, Mr.
Yes.
Cummings? Sorry.
yes,
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next, then I'll entertain a motion to post for the position.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support from Ms. McGuire to post for the position.
Real quick, thank you, Tammy, for putting the website on there. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the part-time treasurer assistant hire request. Tammy
Before
or,
we get to that, Ann, is just a point of order. When I read the board packet on Thursday, I noticed the name is Parker Cleary, and I'm asking the board to vote to recuse. I'd like to recuse myself from the vote, as Parker is my nephew by marriage.
You're also listed on his application, I believe.
That I don't know.
That's correct.
Haven't seen the application.
So was that a motion to allow you to abstain?
That would be a motion to allow me to abstain from any vote.
from voting.
I support that.
Voting.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Westabarth asking to be recused from the vote, and support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
hold on. This is just for recuse.
Mhm.
See what happens when I don't get an extra sheet of paper out, you guys.
It always happens. If you'd had it at the ready, you'd have had plenty.
All right, Mr. Cummings,
Yeah. Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes. Motion carried. Next on then, it would be the, is there a motion to approve the request to hire?
I so move.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire to hire as indicated in the memo. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, thank you. Next on is the Hushra board appointment. We're basically looking, before it was, the superintendent has traditionally been the primary member of Hushra with a support person. Right now, it was Mitch. So, and Jeremy is the support. We're looking to put Tammy, Miss Klein, in that position. So
I move
Make a motion that
to,
we put, well, go ahead, Chair.
nope, too late. You beat me.
Oh, make a motion, we appoint Tammy Klein as the Hushra representative for the township.
Support.
okay, there's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth and support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on, we have the Planning Commission tablet purchase. We discussed this on Friday, and I believe we were going to postpone this until the July 12th meeting based on doing some research on some laptops, maybe instead of tablets.
I move to postpone this agenda item of Planning Commission tablet purchase until our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Ms. McGuire to postpone till our next board meeting, regular scheduled board meeting. Sounds like a TV show, but yeah.
Funny you should say that. That was rolling around in my brain.
Yeah, right.
Like, wow, that sounds
roll-
like scripted.
Yes, it did. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings? Did we lose it?
I think we might have lost him.
Sounds like he's been
left.
having problems today. It's been cutting out and getting kind of digital static.
I do not see him.
Yeah, I think we lost a participant too.
Huh?
I think-
Yeah, we lost him. I mean, we lost him. He's not listed as a participant, so.
How does this work in the whole virtual world? I don't think that the last time we waited till he came back, but if he doesn't come back, since he's already present for the meeting, how do we account for his absence of vote?
A good question.
That's a great question.
Mr. Friel's not on the line, but we'll have to, yeah. Guess we'll have to indicate that there was technical difficulties. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I suppose one of us could move to allow him to abstain from the vote, but I think we need a reason, don't we?
Well, the reason would be
He's not here.
he's
Right,
not
but I
here.
don't know if I don't know if that was one of the justifiable reasons. I don't
Yeah,
know.
not to be caught
Don't let
Captain
him know.
Obvious or anything. but he's not here.
Thanks for pointing that out to me, though. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I guess I don't have the man. Oh, there he is.
Hey,
Hey, there he is. He's back.
There we
Mhm.
go.
Hmm? Are you
You
back,
all up?
Tim?
Yes, I am.
All
Thank you.
right. We were just
Mr.
figuring
Kelly.
out how to handle it, but now we don't
Yes,
have
I
to.
get that. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. So we're ready for a roll call then, I believe.
All right, Mr.
You
Cummings,
hear that part? I guess we have,
Yes.
okay, all right.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wushtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the board committee recruitment and application materials. These have been sent out a couple times now, between myself and Todd. I don't know, I think Todd zoomed back in again.
I think the only thing that we were missing after our discussion on Friday was, did it account for what is it, the
senior.
Senior Commission on Aging or something to that effect?
The
The
senior
board that-
center, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the board that runs the building over there for them.
Mhm.
So we did
Uh,
not, I told you guys on Friday, we tried to kind of button that up. We did not have a chance to get enough information to address that for tonight's meeting. So I guess, maybe you guys have the option to take a vote on what you have in anticipation that will come at you at a future date with an edit. I guess that's in your hands.
Well, I'll move to postpone it till our next regularly scheduled board meeting so that that information can be provided in the original document.
Support.
I would like to move forward with this so that we have several openings on several committees. And this has been postponed for quite some time. And I think we can get the information for the senior center board. But I would like to move forward with this so that we can get the applications from the various people that are looking to step into the planning commission, the zoning board of appeals, the various committees that we're shorthanded on.
That's a good point, Bill. I didn't think about that. And you're absolutely correct. So I will amend my motion to approve the document in front of us with the ability to add the additional board at the next regular board meeting, or as soon as Mr. Dickerson gets the information required to add it. That's a terrible motion. I should probably
Yes,
say
it
that
is.
again. Let me
With
go
the
back up here.
correction, just the document with that correction included. How about that?
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, I'd still support that.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Spencer with support by Ms. McGuire to approve the application materials as submitted with the addition of the senior,
Senior Commission on Aging, I think it
Senior-
is.
I think it's just senior center. I don't know if it's Commission on Aging, but I'm not sure, but the senior center.
Oh, no, it's not. You're right. I messed that up in the past. It is, we're dancing around it, but I think everybody understands what we mean.
Right.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is temporary suspension of pre-board work sessions. I know that this was a recommendation by our attorney. He is not able to be on this evening, but you know, the thought is that these pre-board work sessions are supposed to kind of trim down our meetings, and you know, his thought is that they have not really been doing that. So and you know, with the, I think the previous board had been able to, because of work schedule, allowed them to meet on Friday mornings. This board's not able to do that, so it's not till 4 o'clock, and we've been running, you know, into the evening, and it's just a difficult, you know, a difficult. So his suggestion is we post temporary suspension of those. So
I see his point, and I would say that I am willing to entertain, you know, postponing them for a time. But I mean, just in today's meeting, we've already seen that questions that came up during the work session allowed us to vote on things tonight that didn't have to be postponed, and that additional information was provided. So I see the benefit both ways. But like I said, I would be willing to try it out for a couple of meetings without work sessions and see how it goes, and then maybe make a determination after a time to update to update our policy manual to reflect our final decision about that.
sure. Yeah.
right, I would I
Little
guess
while.
yeah. I think it would be worth maybe trying. I think just it's been hard sometimes. I mean, obviously Tammy's done a great job in getting us the board packet in a timely manner. That being said, it's sometimes difficult to get, you know, dive into it too much. And then we're just asking a ton of questions on stuff that maybe, again, we could just be dealing with at one time. So, yeah. But
I think if we're going to do a postponement, I'd like us to, the motion to consider a date when it would automatically renew. That way there, we don't get into a postponement that slides into a semi-permanent decision that we, you know, and then we're out of sync with our protocol manual.
Good point.
or we could do a
So,
revisit time period. I guess I don't want to
That's right.
necessarily assume that we have
Right.
to bring them back again, but like a revisit the
Fine.
topic. So try it
Yep.
for the
Maybe a month. So
July,
a couple
August
months, or-
frame. Well, we for sure already are going to eliminate one in July because of the work,
Right.
the pre-board meeting. So
Right.
I'm sorry, the budget work session. So maybe reeval at the first meeting in September.
Sounds good.
Try that. Suspension then until, sounds
So
like
I
we're in,
move to-
sounds like we're in high school. Suspension until,
Oh, that's pretty standard for all of us then, hey?
I was just gonna say
Speak for
not that
speak for
I'm.
yourself.
Oh,
I don't
sure,
have any
sure you
knowledge
don't.
whatsoever. Yeah.
Well, I would move that we
Number 13.
temporarily postpone or temporarily suspend pre-board work sessions for regular meetings until our first meeting in September
To discuss.
to discuss
the
whether or
need to
not
bring
the
them back
policy will
again.
be updated or whether we're going to bring them back and leave them in the policy.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Cummings. Did you get that motion, Josh, pretty much? Okay. Ready for a roll call then?
Mr. Palmer,
yes,
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next on is in-person meetings. So I know again, Mr. Friel is not here this evening. He did provide his thoughts in regard to this. I know there's some difference of opinion in regard to the board and the fact that we have issued a resolution, or I'm sorry, an ordinance actually, declaring a state of emergency. Ordinance number 2021-269, allowing us to do these meetings electronically.
I'd like to push off making the decision until after Labor Day, which gives us time to look at the venues available to us and get the hybrid meetings set so that we have a process for in-person people that choose to attend in person and people that choose to attend virtually, and make sure that they all have a voice and the ability to partake in public comments. I think that's going to take a little bit of planning. So I'd like the committee that we formed to look into those things, which we've, Ms. Richards has already contacted me looking for some time to do that. And I'd like to revisit bringing the boards back to in-person meetings with full, in person with no virtual other than the hybrid portion of it, and after Labor Day. I mean, there's still, you see stuff on, you still have to wear masks in all the medical facilities. If we try to go back to in person and we do it if we do it too fast, it's just going to turn into a mess, especially if they tweak the OMA again, or some, I mean, the cases are rising again in California. Last time I looked at the news. So we have till December 31st, according to our ordinance that we passed as local elected officials. And I think that we should utilize that and revisit this after Labor Day, when the population starts to die down a little bit from tourism.
I disagree. By law, we're supposed to be in-person meetings. All the restrictions have been lifted. And I don't think I want to be called on the carpet by the state.
They haven't been lifted. Otherwise we wouldn't have to wear a mask at the dentist office.
Yeah, according to Open Meetings Act, May 31st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, individual members of public body may participate electronically in an in-person meeting if they are absent due to military duty, medical condition, or declaration of a state or local emergency. A declaration of state emergency could allow all members to participate electronically. And that's on that form Mitch sent out attached with his memo on June 4th, 2021 in OMA box 2.
And I believe our attorney has mixed feelings on this, that this declaration actually still covers us. But he said, it's up to the board to what they want to do. I guess we are at the 9:30 mark. I know we've had discussion on this before, that we're not sure who indicated that we had to vote to extend a meeting, but are we still doing that? I believe that Tim Friel indicated that he doesn't know of any rule that indicates that why we need to do that, but what is the board want?
I think it was a local board policy, and I'll toss it out there. I move to extend the meeting to finish the business at hand.
Okay. So there's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Sutton to extend the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wushabar. Did we lose it?
Yes, sorry. I had trouble with my mute button.
Just making sure we still had you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Palmer?
no, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, although I do want to get better clarification on this. So from our attorney.
I'm in the same opinion. We're under an emergency order, and it's up to us when we go back. I'd like to leave it as is right now until we have a plan.
I completely disagree. I believe it states under 15 MCL 15.263A8. But
Right.
I think what that means too, if we go ahead and keep having Zoom meetings that are not allowed, somebody can challenge all the decisions we've made and they would all be undone, just for the record. just so you know.
I think that they can
Well, I'd like
challenge
to
the
see
fact that
the-
we have a meeting at all, but I don't think they can, if the state agrees with them, they'll send us a letter notating that fact, but I don't believe that it does anything to our decisions at all.
Actually, it does, but that's okay.
Well, send me the legal statute on that. I'll be glad to review it. I don't have it in front of me. I'm going by what was sent out by Mitch, and if we're under emergency order, which we are, it's up to the board if we stay or not.
Right. And basically until this afternoon, Mr. Friel has not seen, according to him, our ordinance 2021-269. I did send him a copy and his comment kind of stayed the same as what he said on Friday, is the board can try and continue this basis, which is basically wait and see if until a complaint is lodged. So.
And even if a complaint is lodged, that doesn't mean it's going to hold weight, especially since we've already declared a state of emergency.
Right.
And it sounds to me like since we've done that, we have the authority to continue meeting virtually until we dictate otherwise, or until the ordinance expires.
I would, I guess, voice that I would prefer that we go back to in-person meetings starting in July. So I know that Mr. Palmer had indicated that, you know, we could on some of the boards, but, you know, I just feel like if we're meeting on some and then not meeting on, you know, us, it doesn't really make sending missed messages, I guess. So my thought is that, I mean, I know we don't have a firm policy in place as how we're going to do a hybrid or anything like that, but we can meet in person. And the people that can attend, and we can still try to figure out how to do a hybrid moving forward. But there's nothing that actually mandates that we do a hybrid to begin with. So, but that's just my thoughts. I believe there's a motion on the table. Is there not?
I don't think we don't need a motion unless we're changing it.
I did not
Well,
hear a
Mr.
motion.
Spencer made a motion, I thought.
I did?
I thought you
don't
did to
think so.
continue.
No, I made a motion to continue the meeting, but I didn't make a motion in respect to the in-person meetings.
I thought you
correct.
started one, sorry.
No, I
Oh,
was just,
sorry.
I was merely tossing my opinion out there.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
So the thought of the board is we have an ordinance in place and we're just moving forward. We don't need to act one way or the other. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Actually, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we go back to open meetings. In-person meetings as of July 12th.
Okay, I'll support that. So there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Ms. Richards to go back to in-person meetings, starting our first meeting in July 12th. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
No,
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Cummings,
No.
Mr. Sutton, no, Mr. Spencer,
No,
Mr. Palmer,
No,
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion failed. Okay. Right, so moving on then to number 14, that which is agenda addition, 643 Bisnet Road. Josh.
all right. This was revisiting based on the letter from the attorney. We had that house burn last summer at 643 Bissonnet. We had two bids. The lowest bid was Bowden Company in the amount of $6,500. And I would like to make a motion to approve Bowden Company to do the demo of 643 Bissonnet Road for the $6,500.
I would support that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Palmer. Any further discussion on that?
I thought we just went through this whole RFP process so that we could make it a fair bidding process.
Yeah, this is one that was already proposed before that, and that's why
Yeah.
I reached out. The attorney said we should go ahead and finish this up separate from the RFP.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair to them, once their bid has been put out there, to then go and ask for additional bids.
Correct.
Steve, how do you feel about that? I know the RFP process was a big deal for you.
Was a big deal, and it is a big deal that we have a standard going forward, but reading the communication from the attorney up and back between Josh and him and Tammy, I'm in agreement to just go forward and get that property cleaned up. One-time basis.
Okay. Any further discussion, or are we ready for a roll call then? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on is we moved payroll clarification up from informational to an other item. By your request, Mr. Palmer.
yeah, and this, in the clarification, it states the increase for elected officials. And I find that just irresponsible that we would vote to increase our pay, because the whole purpose of this exercise to increase the pay was to entice new employees to come to the township and to retain our current township employees. And the township board, our elected officials, the pay has always been set by resolution. We set that early in the year, and I just think it's just not the right thing to do, to include ourselves in a pay increase under these circumstances.
I
I
The
agree.
understanding was
I
just that
agree.
we calculated it based off of the total people we had, and that's what my original proposal was, which included all of those people except for our superintendent, EIC director, and fire department, because theirs is a separate increase as well, not an hourly pay. And then those were also put in so that that would run concurrent and balanced with our wage chart that we currently have out. If we did it one way and not the other, then we would run into, I guess, the exact same problem shortly down the road, where then those pay grades would be exceeding each other in different areas. So that's why my proposal was across the board, so that we could adjust that pay table and continue to move in that direction. Because I know when we get into budgeting, there's still some further discussion, as well as our police union contract coming up this year.
Yeah, but elected officials aren't included in that pay structure. Elected officials, their pay is set by resolution.
Actually, Bill, too, when they get a 2% raise within the 4 years, it does affect the elected officials as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
Jeff,
move everybody else 10 to 15%, and then your elected officials would be that 10 to 15 behind. And then moving forward every year, you'd be closing that gap with that 2%.
So we
So
have
it'd be
been
kind
getting,
of taking one step back to take one step forward. That's why when I proposed it, I said we put it across the board. So that's going to continue to move with our budgets going forward. And we're not going to have to then come back and try to readjust that wage scale again to get everybody correct. So that move across the board was so when we get to budgeting, everybody was at that 10 to 15%. So that's not going to affect our budgeting or any of those future positions when we move them around. Much like we had where we've done adjustments for the zoning administrator and other departments, when we do those on an individual basis, we end up spreading that gap again, which then creates a lot of issues for us here as far as other people who have worked in positions similar and are still making a less amount.
Well,
I'm with Bill on
I
this.
find it
I
I find it unconscionable that we would consider raising our pay when we're trying to, entice people to come and work for us and keep the employees we have, raise their pay so that they'll stay and work here. I don't see any elected officials that are planning on leaving here. I mean, I don't know, maybe they will if they can find a better paying job, but that was not the intent of this proposal. Now, if next year, when the resolution comes out to set the pay for the township board, if we want to increase that by whatever percent the board wants to do, that's fine. But we passed a resolution saying what the township board pay would be. And I just find it unconscionable that we would consider raising our pay in this particular instance. I can't go along with that.
Well, I
It
agree with
was-
that. I agree with that too, but I was just trying to make the point that when the other employees in the past, when they got 2%, then it was just automatically given to the deputies and to the elected officials as well, just so you're aware.
Right.
That was
Yeah,
just,
Yes.
through how it used to work, anything that the employees obtained automatically went up. So that's why I did that. Well, that was my understanding from when I worked with the bargaining union and the police union as well. And that's why I said that's in there, because we're creating gaps when we just adjust these things, for lack of a better term, knee jerk. We needed to get a zoning administrator, so we raised it. We basically don't adjust our wages for positions until we are in a point where that position has now become vacant. So we have that pay table for me going forward. I don't even think should be set by a resolution. You should be setting it with those percentage increases, just like you would in any company or anywhere else, so we don't get in a position where we're so spread out on our pay table.
Voted officials are different.
Is that Tim?
Yeah, sorry, Tim, you really broke up on that.
Lose him?
No, he's still there, but, oh, now I think we lost him.
if that's the case too, then
No, he's there.
should we be increasing the zoning administrator because they were way above everybody else in the pay scale?
Right, and I mean, that's the issue I'm looking at, Jamie, is now that we've had those increment moves, I think the budgeting is what's gonna have to overall rein that in, but as far as the increase to just move a few around again, then we're in the same situation. I just don't want to create a problem down the road where we're looking at every position. I think that hopefully by the end of my time, we would just be doing these positions based on the pay we put out and then those percentage-based increases.
So we've been getting those percentage increases over the years, and the salary came out exactly this year at $4,000 a trustee per year. With all those little percentage increases, that just boggles my mind.
I'm with Bill. When I did the calculation and I threw out that $77,000 number, what that creates to an annual basis, it did not include elected officials. That is set by resolution. I'm totally with Bill on that. Do that once a year.
Yeah, I guess my understanding, like I said, from the bargaining unit is that anytime we do a percentage increase, it rolls to everybody else.
That's been past practice.
Except
but-
elected
Yeah,
officials.
and that's kind of what I based it on. I mean, I understand what you guys are saying, but in terms of how it's been set up and how we've always done it, anytime that increase goes in, it rolls to all those other department heads, elected officials. They don't have the ability to go out and say, hey, I want to raise, but I think that's what that resolution system is doing, or by resolution, putting people in at a pay rate. So, I mean, I'm just hoping that we'll be able to set these pay rates so that a percentage increase would be the only thing needed in the future. And then you would look at situations much like we're in this year, and you would again address it by a percentage increase if needed, but that would still roll to everybody else.
I think it should apply to everybody else except elected officials. We
Right, I
set-
understand that, Bill. That's how the bargaining unit had it in there. That's how those have been done.
We don't have a bargaining unit for the elected officials.
No, when we had the bargaining unit, whatever the employees get, that is how it was dictated out. So as we fought as employees, if we got a 5% increase, everybody got that 5% increase. And that was the intent. The officials didn't go for it. You had a bargaining unit doing it at that point. But that's how we've always done those increases, have always been divvied out to everybody for that specific purpose of not creating, I guess, a void in between the two. If you keep bumping everybody up, then you're going to end up with everybody collected into about a same grouped pay rate. And at some point, doing your COLAs and everything, you're going to surpass those. So that's why it's always moved as one unit across the board.
Well, I disagree. Elected officials should be excluded, and that's a decision of the board for pay. Just my opinion.
And I would make a motion that the proposed cost of living increase for township employees not include elected officials.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Westergaard to have elected officials excluded from that cost of, what was that ordinance called? The cost of living?
Cost of living increase.
Cost of living increase. Okay. Any further discussion, or are we ready for a roll call? All right, roll call then.
Mr. Wishtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Uh-oh.
Mr. Cummings,
Oh, he's gone.
I'll keep doing roll call. Maybe he'll come back.
Right.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes. He hasn't logged back in yet.
No.
It was pretty
Sorry,
quick last time.
no, I'm right here. I'm
There
right
he
here.
is.
Sorry.
Oh, there he
You know,
is.
Yay!
I was muted. I got muted by Zoom this time. So I was right there
Okay.
the whole time. I'm sitting there going like, yes, I am. I'm right here.
Oh, you weren't, but you
It's like-
didn't even show up as a participant. That's weird. You just now showed
No,
up and you said, I'm here.
I don't know. I don't know. I was there. I'm looking at the connection. I see your face, Ann.
Okay.
No,
Sad for you, sorry.
oh, no.
Okay.
My vote is yes, to be excluded.
Okay, all right, then
Thank you.
motion passed. All right, moving on then to public comments. We have finished the agenda.
Ew.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah. Okay, so now moving on to public comments. This is the second public comment period of the board meeting at this time. You have the same restriction of 4 minutes, but you can speak on something that's on or off the agenda. So that being said, if you could raise the hand feature, use the raise hand feature on your computer if you have that. And if you've called in, then I believe it's *6. So anybody has would like to make a public comment, please do so now. Okay, I
Hello.
see one.
Hello?
Yep.
Brian Haley again, Ascota.
right.
Yeah. Now, moving forward, of course, we do have a great plan for Furtaw. And like I said at a prior meeting, with the historical museum, they would like to be involved. That changes this plan. That will take time. But the good news is we have a fine member of our community, volunteer, who just informed me that she wants to help us all the way through the process. So that will be that's a great thing. Community is coming together. We do have a fine plan. There is no mixed use in our plan. This is all for the people. We have a goal, dreams. like I tried to say earlier, but okay, this is open comment section. Really the past two boards and continuing of this board now, continuation. You're not following the recreation plan. You're not following what's in your own documents. And, you know, I'm going to keep hammering that home. That's surprising to me because you take the time to put those things together. You also put in the master plan. And I'm telling you, the three times that, again, a trustee says that, you know, we tried to get grants, there was no try there. You can't fool me on that. I've never been involved with your government, but I've been around enough to know. I've also been involved with a few projects. There was no try there. If Mr. Palmer specifically can produce that we actually tried, that would help a little bit. But I don't think you can. I think maybe Beckett and Rader. The third time around, Mr. Palmer said it was Beckett and Rader, not we. Beckett and Rader tried. Well, let's see that try. I want to see that try, and I don't think there was one. In light of everything, and understand this, I've been compiling a lot of information, and I've got information from the State Attorney General's office on the violations of Open Meetings Act, which I brought up before, and they're real. And Mr. Palmer also mentioned that in prior times, when an LOI would come forward to buy something, they actually went into closed session. So now I got to research all of them, I guess. But two in particular, and they're serious. They're serious things. And it all involves FERTA. It all involves FERTA. The move to try to get the building there, let me get this straight. Oh, we haven't decided. Okay. You spent 21 grand on all that. This is an 18. You surveyed it, physically surveyed it. That was done by Rowe. There's about 6,400, just to be safe, involved in that. You had renderings, but there was really no plan. And now we're going to go, and there's nothing wrong with Rowe. They're fine. They're a service provider. But now you're going to pay another 9 grand for renderings. Usually I don't worry about money. But really what you're doing is taking a highly skilled person to put together a plan that actually you guys should have your own plan. We've got a plan. Where's your plan? Maybe you're too busy for that. I don't know. Let me just end on this. The past board did a lot of things. Instead of me being all negative, I will say this, and it hurt this community very much so, is that the handoff from the last board to this board got you mired down with 3 months worth of stuff. So we're behind the 8 ball on a lot of things. I see you're straightening some things out. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I see a raised hand. I'm going to go to that next. Rick, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you have, I'm going to start the timer here. You have 4 minutes. Go ahead and start.
Okay, going back to 2018, 2019, when the Township Hall was being pushed to be put on for Top Field, there was a petition done by Dawn, I believe over 2,000 signatures from people, residents, saying they don't want anything. They don't want a building onto that field. I believe that holds true for the majority of the residents of this town. Don't feel that way. And for you guys again tonight to approve $10,000 to do a couple more sketches for what the people want, and not taking into consideration if the people don't want anything to be built on that field, which I believe is an overwhelming majority, then why are we going through paying $10,000 to get ideas done? If you're really looking to represent the township and the township people, you know, I think it's pretty clear the township don't want any structure built there, and yet these board meetings keep getting talked about, like, we're still gonna do it. So if you guys are supposed to represent the majority of the people, I feel that that's not being done. The majority of the people don't want a structure on Utah, and you guys should be representing the majority of the citizens. And I don't feel you're doing that by continuing to accept LOIs and to continue to label FERTA as a disposable property. And I'd just like to see you guys represent the people that put you in there. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. Represent the majority of the people. I think you guys know that we don't want anything structurally on there, but it seems like you keep pushing it through anyways, through different methods. So I just want to say, I hope you guys will start listening to the majority of the people and represent the majority that you were elected to do. That's all.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, before I move on to the next person, Zoom is a different animal in a sense that if we were in a board meeting right now and we were in public comment, or we were in the meeting in general, there would not be a chat box during the meeting where people could be going back and forth. I suppose they could be texting each other. I suppose they could be writing notes to each other, but they wouldn't be able to make comments in the chat box. Some of those comments are quite negative and derogatory, in my opinion. And I would really appreciate if those people stopped doing that. If you would like to make a public comment, make it by raising your hand or hitting the *6. If not, then please refrain from making comments in the chat. And if you're going to make comments, be respectful. Because again, Zoom is a different concept. If we were in the board meeting room right now, we would not be acting in this manner. So please be respectful. Moving forward then, is there somebody else that has a question or would like to speak? Please use the raise hand feature. I see another raised hand. I believe, unless I did not turn off the one. Oh, there
Can
it
you
is.
hear me now?
Okay, yep, go ahead. Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't find you.
Larry Holland. Two things.
Oh, sorry, that was the other timer. So I apologize.
I'm not going to take 4 minutes.
Okay.
So first things, I kind of take a look at MCLA 15.263A, and that's section 2. The two-way chat box is kind of like a requirement that allows people to talk, and I certainly agree with you to make sure that everybody kind of maintains some sort of candor and how they're presenting themselves in the community. But the chat box is actually a good thing that allows the community to have a discussion, but a discussion is a two-way form of understanding where people both seek to understand the other person's point, not to vindictively and or collaboratively collapse a process. So I would urge people to first take a look at that 15.263A, section 2. I'm not sure where that's coming from. That's not me.
I just let somebody in just a minute.
Jason,
Sorry.
yeah.
I got it. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, I
Go ahead,
apologize.
Mr. Holland.
Okay, I'm back. All right, so the next thing is that your meeting notices are defective. If you're going to claim that your resolution that was passed to extend the panic response to this situation that we have going on, then you need to name that instead of the Senate bill on your meeting notices. Otherwise, that is an Open Meetings Act violation by clear and written language. So that notice has to be done. And then at the beginning of the meetings, you guys should each be stating the reason again while you're in a remote session if you're a board member. It doesn't matter that you're not all in the same location as long as you're expressing the fact of why. And if you're going to use that former ordinance as the reason, then it should be mentioned. And I would urge all of the board members to review the emergency act that is referenced in the Michigan Township Association. And I'll send a copy of this email to the board members because it does reference several items that name one, the supervisor as the emergency coordinator because of the size of our township. amongst other issues. And we need to start looking at the facts. We need to go back to the law. It doesn't take a lawyer to necessarily read it. Sometimes we might have an opinion that needs some analysis where the attorney could help. But we got to start reading and we got to start communicating appropriately. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. Sorry, let me hit the cancel button on the timer. Anybody else for public comment? Raise hand or *6. Okay, last call for public comment. Okay, hearing none, I am going to move on to board comment. Is there any members of the board that would like to have that have anything to say?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, Ann. This is
Okay.
Bill. I thought I had explained myself earlier. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying this. When I say we have tried to get grants, we generally, that's part of a contract we have with a professional that is professional at writing grants. And when we signed a contract with Beckett and Rader to do the landscape proposals for Ratliff Park, the Beach Park, and Furton Field, part of that contract was to use their professional services in going after grants. Much the same as we do when I say we have gone for grants for the bike path. I'm talking about grants that Roe is preparing for it in the form of a TAP grant, MNRTF grants, IBTF grants, patronicity grant, and those kinds of things. So if people in the public misunderstand what I'm trying to get across, when I say we contract with professionals to write these grants and have to live with whatever the results are. If we're denied the grants, we don't get the money, which was the case when it came to doing the work at the Beach Park and Ratliff Park. So just one informational point I'd like to send out there to the community. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but in October, several phone area codes in the state, you will be required to dial the full area code of the 10-digit number to complete a call, even for local calls. And that will go in effect in October. And the 989 area code is included as one of those area codes. So they're recommending that people start getting used to, even if you're calling your neighbor here in Oscoda, that you begin dialing the 989 prefix before the number. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, any other board comments?
The community theater is back with a new light show for the summer. I think they've got a couple more weekends of show left. They're pretty excited about it. Went out and saw it this past weekend, and it's a great show. So if you guys want to check out the community theater and support our local community, they've got a show for you.
Okay, thank you. Great to have him back.
You betcha.
Okay, any other board comment? Again, board members? No? Okay. All right. Well, I think we had a very productive meeting. I want to thank Tammy for her excellent report and information and follow up in regard to providing additional information that we all asked for. So, and I'm excited that we have the budget work session coming up and have that scheduled. You know, I know there's a lot of things that have to happen before that, and she's, you know, got to get all that stuff back from the department heads and so on. So there's a lot of work that's going to be involved in that process. So anyways, we also have the 4th of July coming up. A great event for our community, great fireworks that are going to be occurring. Our first movie, the Starry Night, the movies at the pier is going to be this Wednesday, I believe, as long as it doesn't rain. And then, you know, moving forward, every Wednesday after that. So again, don't forget about the 4th of July. We have the parade on Sunday, fireworks on Sunday night, and the community picnic down at the beach park as well. So thanks, everybody, and have a great night, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Good night.
Go
Good night.
Oscoda.
Thank you. Night.